As someone who has been surviving 4+ years of witchcraft attack, I've learned that spiritual protection is not just about what we wear on our bodies, like our protection oils, our crystals, our amulets. Ensuring that we are spiritually protected against witchcraft is also about what we put into our bodies. After going through an intense soul swapping attempt where my body had literally been promised to an entity by a dark witch, my spirit team guided me to go on a 10-day fresh juice fast to free the holds on my spirit. It was this process of learning to consume more fresh foods that literally saved my life. So, let me share a little bit about my story before we get into this conversation today about which particular foods can help you against witchcraft, because I want to give some background as to how I actually know that these foods will protect you against spiritual attack. My spirit team basically explained to me that I was undergoing graveyard magic, that I was basically being attacked by spirits of death and decay that wanted to take possession of my body. And so putting dead things in my body was simply making it easier for them to latch onto me. And so when I thought about it that way, consuming more fresh foods made a lot of sense. I talked in a previous video about how there are foods that can actually weaken the aura and the spirit, thus making us more vulnerable to spiritual attack. Conversely, there are foods that can actually help you to naturally fight off spiritual attack. Hello, beautiful people. I am Oshun Kimi, your sage, your guru, your mystic, and your spiritual informant. And today I'm going to discuss foods that have the power to strengthen your spirit and your aura against witchcraft and spiritual attack. And I am going to share which foods are best for defending against particular types of attacks. Or, in other words, what types of foods you should eat depending on the type of spiritual situation that you are in. In order to strengthen your aura to become a natural protective barrier against witchcraft, you must eat life giving foods. Many of these types of foods are also known as alkaline foods or as foods that have a natural electric charge. A good portion of life giving foods can be eaten raw. Foods that can be eaten in its fresh, raw forms are going to be your fruits, your vegetables, your herbs, your nuts, and your seeds. There are some life giving foods that can't be eaten raw but are still healthy. So, this would be your legumes, aka your beans, and your grains, aka your brown rice, your quinoa, and etc. Ideally, 80% of your diet should consist of life giving foods, which I know may sound hard for those of us born in the US, where as a culture, we actually don't prioritize healthy eating. So, for my people who are experiencing witchcraft attacks that keep you up at night, witchcraft attacks that are giving you nightmares, spiritual attacks that are manifesting as bites and pinches on the body, or attacks that are draining your energy, that is causing fatigue, depression, and or unexplained weight gain, this is a heavy sign that you need to fast and or clean up your diet. Take note of how many times a day you eat meat or foods that are fried, salty, sugary, dairy based, or heavily processed, because these foods severely dim your aura, your intuition, and your spiritual power. If the things you put in your body are not contributing to your light body, then inevitably these foods are bringing darkness into the body. And if you know that you are experiencing witchcraft, especially graveyard magic, then the last thing you need is to be putting death or darkness into the body, because when you eat meat, those spirits of death and decay that have been sent to you through witchcraft will feed on the death and decay that is in you, in your body. So, meat actually acts as a sort of binding element that binds you, your body, and your spirit to the entity that is attacking and attaching to you. So, this is spiritual science, right? But when you have life giving foods in the body, you essentially starve those spirits and become able to naturally deflect and resist those spirits, because they cannot have the same level of access to you, because your body, your aura, and your energy is on a higher vibrational scale than these entities of death and decay, which are on lower vibrational scales, right? Since meat is one of the most detrimental foods when under spiritual attack, here are some life giving meat like substitutes. Meat like, okay? Number one is going to be your jackfruit. Number two, all types of mushrooms: lion's mane, enoki, oyster mushrooms. I mean, the list goes on and on when it comes to mushrooms. For meat substitutes that are also high in protein, this is going to be your tofu and your tempeh, if you're okay with soy based products. Legumes are also high protein and they make good substitutes for meats, especially your lentils and your black beans. Those are good substitutes for recipes where you would be using ground meats. There are plenty of phenomenal recipes online if you need assistance in preparing any of these substitutes that I have listed here. Trust me when I say the vegan community is a lot more exciting than people give it credit for, right? So now let's talk some life-giving substitutes for sweets made with processed sugar. Because sugar and meat cravings are two of the most common signs of having a dark entity attachment, which can literally live in the gut. So, when I am talking dark entity attachments, these are parasitic attachments. So, when you have cravings, that could actually very well be a parasitic energy attachment or a literal parasite in the body that is craving those things like meat and sugar and junk so that it can continue to live in your body. So often you may think that these cravings are benign, but you are actually feeding an entity attachment, which only takes you deeper into covenant with that spirit. If you have a heavy craving for sweets, especially at night or first thing in the morning, begin consuming teas like green tea, licorice tea, turmeric, and etc. Instead of what the craving is pushing you to consume, have some hot herbal tea instead or some coconut water. But I've personally found that tea is better. So I like my sweets too, but I get my sugar kick from life-giving foods. So of course, this is going to be your fruits, your berries, kiwis, and your melons. These fruits will satisfy your sweet tooth, but most importantly, it hydrates you, which is essential for your intuition and for keeping your aura clean. And fruits give your aura the electric charge that it needs to vibrate at a higher frequency because everything that we consume leaves an energetic imprint on us. So, processed sugar is one of the worst things to consume in excess, particularly for people who are under spiritual attack, because the bacteria from excess sugar will become literal food for dark and demonic entities. Having fruit instead of processed sugar has the added benefit of cleaning out the gut. And so, if you are a meat eater, eating certain fruits like pineapple and watermelon will actually help to better digest and push that meat out of your gut. So, I just mentioned how hydration is important to keeping your aura purified. Salty foods are going to be detrimental for people under spiritual attack because salt drains your aura and your energy. So, if you are someone who cooks with or eat foods with a heavy amount of salt, begin cooking with fresh herbs so that you are not compromising on taste or flavor, but you're not enhancing the flavor using salt, you're enhancing the flavor using herbs. So, it's a win win in that case. So, your fresh herbs are going to be your fresh basil, thyme, oregano, dill, rosemary, etc., mint. These give your foods wonderful taste, but most importantly, it's going to give your aura a super powerful electric charge as well. I love my fresh herbs. If your dreams are under attack or you experience a lot of psychic attack on your third eye and your crown chakra, this is where steeping those fresh herbs into a tea is going to be particularly helpful to protect and enhance your psychic abilities and your intuition. I found that making a tea from fresh peppermint and fresh basil leaves was most effective when I couldn't remember my dreams. I'd wake up and immediately brew fresh peppermint and fresh basil on low heat for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now, the last life giving food remedy I am going to share is to help protect yourself from fatigue, which is a common symptom of energy harvesting witchcraft. When you are experiencing your energy being drained by entities, don't go for coffee or caffeine. Instead, consume spicy foods like ginger, cinnamon, cayenne peppers, or red chilies. And using these things in their fresh form is going to be best. So you can make a tea with fresh ginger roots and cinnamon sticks. You can drink a freshly pressed juice with citrus fruits and ginger, or you can make a hot soup or some type of meal with the chilies. Spicy foods reinvigorate the system. And this is why people go to these types of foods to sweat out colds and things like that when they are sick. Okay, friends, I hope this video was helpful. I know that it may be a bit controversial because people like their meat and they like their sweets. So please let me know your thoughts or your questions in the comments. Keep it nice, please. There will be a link for readings in the comments and a link to join our growing community of lightworkers on Patreon. And trust me, Patreon is where all the real tea is spilled. Join us at our weekly workshops. Join us for Monday lecture. Peace and blessings to everybody. Selah.